Hello, Brad here, just to say we're super proud that the Friday 5pm podcast is sponsored by the Malt Miller, the UK's best home brew store.
We use the Malt Miller for all of our homebrew experiments, as well as tapping them up for advice and binging on their awesome YouTube channel all the time.
That's why whenever we release a homebrew video, we put a recipe kit live on the Malt Miller, so you can brew with the exact same amazing ingredients that we did. The same ingredients used by pro brewers.
So alongside the Malt Miller's nitro-flushed hops, cold-stored yeast and milled-to-order malts, you can pick up recipe kits for our 5 Points Best Bitter, Russian River West Coast IPA, and now the fastest beer in the world, a hazy session IPA that goes from grain to glass in less than 48 hours.
Sign up to their newsletter at tinyurl.com/Malt Miller to get 5% off your first order. With the Malt Miller's amazing customer service and Johnny's 48-hour recipe, you could order the ingredients on a Monday and be drinking the beer by the weekend.
Speaking of which, it's Friday.
It's 5pm.
So enjoy this week's Friday 5pm podcast. Hey Beer Geeks, it's Friday, it's 5pm, and this is the sound of Johnny's first beer of the weekend, and this is the sound
of Brad's first non-beer of the weekend. Well, low alcohol.
Yeah. Low alcohol beer for Bradley, because we are down at the Exale tap room. We're in, well, they described it as a treehouse. There is a tree. Well, there's multiple trees, but we're not being sustained by the tree in this particular house.
I'd call it like a sort of crow's nest.
Crow's nest.
If you were in a sort of Call of Duty type game, be a real high ground advantage.
Somebody be camping here.
You'd be camping here, and then if you were, if you hated people camping, you'd sneak up on them and just twat them on the back of the head, probably.
Yeah.
Take them out. No camping, Johnny.
Well, I want to play Counter-Strike now tonight. So we are down at Exale, where we've just spent a happy hour drinking 6 collaboration beers that were brewed between some breweries of London and some breweries of the US, from Texas, from Brad's pulling funny faces, we'll get to it. So we drank six delicious beers that will be forming the is it the climax?
Yeah.
The conclusion, perhaps?
I think it's the conclusion.
I think the climax is you drunk at London Craft Beer Festival midway through the video.
Well, let's not go into that. that was an incredibly pressured day, in that it was about 40 degrees in those tunnels. We did a live podcast.
We did.
Within a tunnel where you were camping out.
I was camping.
Camping all day. Not in a crow's nest, though, in a deep bunker. And I didn't get any dinner before I had to go off with some of our cameramen.
Despite, just to be clear, my last words to Brad before he went off to film on his own was, make sure you have dinner first.
Yeah, I don't think I heard that. And I don't think Tom heard that either, because he didn't have any dinner either. But
Tom wasn't drinking.
He wasn't drinking like
Tom,
a
the
bastard
cameraman,
like me.
is.
Yeah.
So this is a sponsored video that we're making with the Brewers Association about the impact of American craft breweries and styles
on the world, Johnny.
On the world.
Yeah.
And we were just here tasting all 6 of those collaborations that were brewed that will help tell that story down at Exale. And now we are in said crow's nest having a beer. Brad's not too enamoured with his low alcohol.
No, I'm not. I mean, so I went for a lime lager, Johnny.
Yeah.
And it tastes limey. It definitely doesn't taste lagery.
So it's like lime carbonated water.
Yeah, I feel like it tastes more like drinking one of those horrible things that we were all supposed to get into from America. What are they called?
Kombuchas?
No. Try it. It tastes like, just like spicy water
you mean
stuff.
hard water stuff?
Yeah, like hard watery
Seltzers.
kind of stuff. Seltzery vibes.
Yeah, there's not
a lot going on.
Beer character.
Maybe we won't. Should we say who it is?
I don't think we should say the brand
No.
unless we're sure it's not a bad can.
Could be.
Yeah, could be. Our heater's just turned off. I'm going to turn it on because we are pushing towards autumn.
Summertime, mate. What are you on about? October, summertime.
I mean, yesterday it was, and the day before.
It's about 22 or 23 degrees yesterday, I think.
Yeah. But we're pushing towards winter. We're in the crow's nest. We've got the heating on, but I'm still drinking a session IPA with Citra, Mosaic, Idaho 7, and a Zachar, and pretending I'm on a tropical island.
Beautiful.
So yeah, it's been a busy time since we last spoke to you. So I did like a 20-minute podcast last week just to keep everybody in the loop and just to kind of connect with the rest of the world, because I was 2,000 kilometres from the nearest landmass.
You were on a landmass, though.
I was on a landmass. Yeah, I wasn't just in the middle of the Atlantic.
You weren't on that boat that we talked about being in between stuff that we could do whatever we want on. Remember that
Oh
boat?
my God, that is a reference to a podcast a long time ago. We were going to build a bar that had a focal banger and Pilsner Urquell.
That's it.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, I was on the island, or the archipelago, sorry, of Svalbard, specifically the island of Spitsbergen.
Oh, it's an archipelago as well,
Yeah.
is it? Oh,
Yeah.
There you go.
Spitsbergen is where I was and where Longyearbyen is.
Right.
Spitsbergen means pointy mountain.
Why
there were
do
lots of pointy
they
mountains.
all look like weird gravel pyramids from the photos? What's going on there?
Yeah, I guess a little bit alien culture.
Why gravel pyramids? What's going on?
so
Is that from mining?
No. They're not lopping the top off of mountains to make them pointy.
No, I thought maybe that was off.
Oh, you mean like
piles.
down, like at ground level, it looked gravelly.
I don't know. Some of the photos I saw, they look like tiered gravelly mountains, like little pyramids.
Well, so most of that is down to the fact that it's a glacial landscape. So you've got
Yeah.
glacial valleys.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if you've seen like a glacier, it's always
All
kind
right,
of V-shaped.
geography boy.
Yeah,
I
just
did
get my
geography A
degree
level
out.
too.
The graveliness,
Yeah,
like the
go on.
actual texture of the mountains, would be down to two things. One is the moraine, which
Yeah.
is essentially the debris of the glacier, and the other bit would partly be mountains. Mining of the mountains.
Mining,
So it's a tradition in Svalbard that you take your shoes off when you go inside.
Yeah.
Because in summer you're dragging in coal dust.
Yeah.
Because it's very dusty there and very dry.
Yes.
Even like because it's snowy most of the year, but the snow is not like the snow that you and I know, where when it lands it kind of melts. It's like slow-moving ice shards is the snow you get in Svalbard.
Ice shots.
Ice
like a
shots.
shit and a fart.
No, a shard.
You said shots.
Shards. Plural of shard.
But they sound horrible.
Yeah, well,
Ice
they weren't
shots.
great. If they get in your eye,
Sound really painful.
in your eye, they were.
Either way, Johnny.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Either end.
Shards or shards.
Nobody wants an ice shot.
Anyway, so you take your shoes off because it's either very dusty, which is also
Yeah.
contributing to the graveliness, or you're treading snow and melting.
Okay.
So you always take your shoes off. So it's either gravelly or snowy terrain.
I feel like that's a real Scando thing anyway. Take your shoes off. It's polite. I seem to remember
probably
doing
in
that.
homes because
Nashville and stuff.
of the
before.
snow. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
did
in
you have-
Svalbard, it's all year round.
Knowing that, did you have a great selection of socks?
I just wore. I've recently really got into just plain. In fact, I'm wearing a pair right now. Just plain white sports socks. I find that, like a good pair of boxers, they just cup you in. You know, you feel secure.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
I'm not sure that my feet really need cupping, but it's like a little hug in a sock.
What do you
Whereas
reckon's
I used to
mine?
wear. So there's a hamburger socks,
Yeah,
Bradley.
I got these for my birthday.
Right.
They're little hamburgers. They're orange and they're a little
Very
hamburger.
appropriate birthday gift for a 40-year-old man.
41.
41, sorry, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, they're cool socks, but are they cupping you? Do your
No.
feet feel like they're being hugged?
Well, my shoes are doing that because I wear
okay.
incredibly comfortable.
Yeah, Brad's
plain
whole
shoes.
shtick for his footwear is what I shouldn't wear in breweries.
Yeah.
And despite being in breweries, gone for deck shoes today.
Having just been to Amsterdam and on average walked 8 to 10 miles every day, these are actually really good for walking in,
Okay.
even though they're totally flat. Normally, if I don't have arch support in a shoe and I'm walking a long distance, I get very achy feet.
Have you got flat feet or arched feet?
Arched feet.
All right, I've got very flat feet, so I don't,
you'd be
an
great in
arch is
these.
an issue.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah. I mostly wear like very flat kind of tennis shoe styles because of my flat feet.
That definitely has arch support though, doesn't it? What you're
No,
wearing, eh?
absolutely none. Flat as a pancake.
They're running
Very
shoes
much
though.
not Spitsbergen. No, these are
not running shoes?
like squash shoes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. They look for it. Would you know what they're called? Do you know what those are
Which
called?
particular make of Nike?
Well, yeah.
Nike, sorry.
They're runners or something? I think they're called runners, aren't
I don't
they?
know. They might.
I don't know. They've got a waffly.
I'm not going to take my
they've got
shoes
a-
off. Even in the crow's nest, you'll know.
They've got a waffly tongue, like an exposed foam tongue,
Yeah.
which is well old school, and they look like something Marty McFly may have
I
worn.
think that is literally why I bought them.
Yeah.
Because Martin McFly.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're a beer podcast. So we filmed that thing for the BA. I have been on the Isle of Spitsbergen.
Yeah.
And there will be a video, I reckon, in January, because we've got,
So much.
don't know if you noticed, a lot of content.
Loads of content.
So we'll get onto this week's video in a bit, but last week's video was obviously our Verdant video,
Yes.
which was 29 minutes long.
Boom.
The brewery tour was over an hour, and I managed
Yeah.
to cut it down to about 10 minutes.
Good work.
Which means I think there will be like an editor's cut.
And a director's cut.
Yeah. Director's cut, sorry, yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah,
The
yeah.
editor doesn't get a say. The director,
He does when he is also the director.
the director, yeah. So I think, because there's an hour of gold, there's lots of jokes, there's lots of interesting information. About, I would say, 7 or 8 minutes worth of chat about different oat varieties.
Oaty.
Yeah.
Very oaty.
Verdant take their oats seriously.
That should be their slogan. That sounds like a
take-
biscuit brand.
Yeah, if they ever make
say.
porridge or, I don't know, take on McVitie's, they could go, we take our oats so seriously or something.
That is that already a saying? Oats so serious.
I think it's a porridge thing. One of the
Yeah.
porridge brands has like oatily simple. Oh no, is
Something
it
like
the
that.
oat milk people?
I don't know.
Oatily
Yeah,
simple
probably.
or something
Probably.
like that. Yeah.
I keep telling myself I've got out of shape recently, Johnny, because I've stopped eating porridge oats, and I keep telling myself I'm going to go
Isn't
back
it the
to
other? So it's not that you stopped eating oats; it's that you're replacing the oats with
Yeah.
what, bacon?
not bacon, but
Right.
like just other less healthy food,
Right. Okay.
less sort of slow release stuff.
Low GI foods.
Yeah. I've been feeling very anxious the last few months, so I've really gone off the wagon, mate. I keep threatening to, like, again this morning I bought little bananas. I was gonna have bananas on top of my oats, and then I had to have a little bit of a shave because I was looking a bit unkempt, more unkempt than usual, and I just ran out of time. So I ended up having some bought from Iceland, American cereal that are like little tiny cookies, chocolate chip cookies. It's like the opposite thing you could ever have to like fucking porridge. So
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I'd say the opposite to that.
They
is
were
like
full
a
grain
fruit
though,
salad.
whole grain apparently,
You're right.
just covered in sugar.
Did it
as
say
well,
full
though.
grain on there, and all they meant was that
Whole grain
it's
is what they
all
claim.
grains, but it's not all grain.
It's all grain, baby. I don't know. They're little cookie bastards.
Right. Okay. Is that the name of the brand? I like Cookie
Yeah,
Bastards.
Cookie
I need
bastards. Yeah,
I need
and
that for
I also got some not Cheerios, sorry, churros, cinnamon churros.
that. Sorry, you had that for breakfast?
No,
as well?
I didn't have those,
Oh.
but I bought at the same time. This is all focused around my birthday week. I'm claiming a week, Johnny.
Okay.
I went into an Iceland, which I never really go into, and I saw they had these like strange American cereals, 2 for £5. So I went for the two most extreme ones.
Of course.
Cinnamon churros shaped cereal, which is too cinnamony, if anything.
Too cinnamon.
It's well
Or
cinnamony.
cinnamon and cinnamon graham.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. They're good, don't get me
Graham's
wrong.
pretty cinnamony.
They are pretty cinnamony. I haven't had one of those in a while. It's probably akin to one of those, I would say.
Right.
But they're like long. They're long.
Yeah.
They're long boys.
Churros shaped.
Yeah, churros
Like
shaped.
star tube.
Yeah. That's not the most exciting thing I've been eating, though, Johnny.
Oh God. I was about to try and rein us back in, but now I've got to ask.
Well, as some of you may know, when Johnny was off on an Arctic adventure, my 41st birthday, and I went over to the land of Dutchies, Holland. I booked a flight and a holiday the day before I went, very, very last minute, as I always like to do. Incredible bargain, Johnny. Stayed on the botel, and I took in all the delights of Amsterdam. Not all of the delights, obviously. Some of them are
Oh right, yeah.
X-rated. So I took in some of the more PG varieties of delights.
PG delights.
PG-13 delights, including lots of incredible, mild, delicious Moorish Dutch Gouda cheese.
Oh, Gouda cheese.
Oh,
right,
I might have had the second weakest pre-rolled joint in a place called Strain Hunters.
Is that like when you were ordering wine on the menu, you had the
Yeah,
second most
yeah,
expensive? You were like, I'll have the second week.
Well, I wanted to get the weakest, and he said I wouldn't recommend it.
Oh,
so
okay.
he said get the next one up.
Okay.
And we only had a little bit, and then decided we'd had enough. But when we were in there, they had an incredible rotating counter of cheesecake that looked beautiful. But
What's
it was
cheesecake?
cheesecake.
Oh,
a
cheesecake.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I
yeah.
was envisaging. I thought you meant like a wheel of cheese.
No.
No, it was a cheesecake. Right.
cheesecake.
That
But it
well-known
was
thing.
like an edible cheesecake.
Yeah, like a cheesecake.
But like with drugs in it.
Oh, I see.
So we were like, oh, that looks amazing. But also we knew it had drugs in it. So we didn't.
That would have been my drug of choice. I'd rather eat it than smoke it.
You would have been swimming in the canals, I think, if you'd eaten one of them. I think they're
reckon?
quite strong, yeah.
Okay.
They had loads of photos of like Snoop Dogg and other sort of like David Hasselhoff and people as they go in there. It's like,
And I'd imagine most tourists probably like they have a slice and they go, oh, it hasn't really hit me. I'll have another. And that's
I'll have
where,
another, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
they just haven't waited quite long enough for it
No,
to really.
kick in.
Yeah.
It gets you, I reckon. I haven't done that. But I ate loads of Gouda. Old Gouda, young Gouda,
Middle-aged Gouda.
middle-aged Gouda. They're all Gouda.
They're all
great.
good.
They're all good.
You've got to pronounce it Gouda
They're all
for that
Gouda.
to work, haven't
They're
you?
all Gouda. I should have started with a Gouda.
Yeah.
But I when I was out there in the Wilderman, I discovered they do obviously a little cheese platter with the mustard and everything. In there, they do it with tiny little bright yellow pickled onions, Johnny. And that tastes exactly like when you have an Orval, our best beer and snack match ever, which is pickled onion Monster Munch and Orval. So you get your Gouda, or Gouda, your mustard,
Or moutarde.
and a little bright yellow neon pickled onion.
Why are they neon? Like turmeric or
I have no idea. They're untrustworthy
colour?
yellow. They're like a yellow highlighter pen. They're that bright. They're super bright. But I got a lovely lady called Suzette to pour me a pint of sorry, not a pint, an Orval into an Orval glass, and then the sediment into a tiny little sediment glass on the
Teeny
side.
tiny Orval, yeah.
Yeah, and then
petty Orval.
we cheers with our little pickled onions, and then drank Orval, and I had a great time. I thought it was a wonderful.
And you filmed this, so
I did film it. It will be coming as a short, hopefully,
yeah.
or an Instagram post or something. I just didn't want to step on your Arctic frozen frostbite toes, Johnny, with all the great content you're
I
posting.
thought I was getting frostbite, so I went on a husky ride.
Did you? You actually?
Did
For
I
real?
get frostbite?
No,
No.
did you think you were for real getting it?
I was a little bit worried because like all of me was warm. I dressed really well, but we got to the husky like enclosure, which is incredible. You can see a bit of it on my Instagram, but it'll also be in the film. Got there and they like looked at what you're wearing and they're like, okay, you're cool. They gave extra layers to people that needed it, but they gave us boots. They were like, you'll need these boots because these are windproof. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. You know, we're going to be traveling at I don't know, probably 15, 20 kilometers an hour. So I put them on. And they did not feel as warm as my boots. And I would say within a minute of actually departing on said husky sledge, I was like, yeah, my shoes are way warmer.
Talk me through the structure of the boot they gave you.
Well, it was a furry Wellington, bro.
So, like, literally rubber on the outside, fur inside.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not enough layers.
Well, I mean,
Not even leather on the outside.
No, it was like plastic Wellington.
This is terrible.
And then I had socks, like serious socks.
Yeah.
But it wasn't enough. And they also gave you special gloves, and I should have kept my gloves on within the special gloves, and then I think that'd have been all right.
You probably should have put your gloves on your feet, and then.
Toes aren't long enough.
No, well, you know, but they are when you've got frostbite and you haven't got any toes.
Yeah,
left.
probably. Yeah.
Probably
I mean, I
goes
do
there,
have the toes left.
Oh, that's good.
But you know, it was one that it didn't detract from the experience. It just added a little bit of danger. You know, along with the polar bear risk, also the frostbite risk.
I like it.
But they gave us brandy and hot chocolate.
Did they give you a gun?
No, the guide had a gun.
As you were walking around, did you have someone with a gun?
No.
Did they give you any sort of bear protection?
Well, no, because the bears don't really come into town. The last time a bear came to town was 2018, and nobody was hurt except for the bear's cubs, sadly.
What, they shot the
Later on.
cubs?
Well, they had to shoot one of them because it got too close to a human.
The cub did?
Yeah.
Should have punched it, I reckon. Kicked it in the face.
Well, they did everything. They have a protocol to avoid shooting the bear first, and none of that worked. With cubs, you see, they're more naive, they're more curious.
Yeah, I'm making light of it. That sounds like a horrible situation.
I'm sure it was. But so in town, you're safe. Nobody carries a gun in town. I guess some people do.
You're allowed to just rock a gun.
Yeah.
So are there like people walking around with like magnums on their waist?
Well, no, because you need a rifle to take down a polar bear.
Mate,
a magnum's
Magnum
not gonna
45
work. If
to
you
the face.
shoot with a magnum, it's too close. You need a long-range rifle. So when we went out of the village, I went out of the village twice. Once we were at a mine and it was considered safe, the gun didn't come out of the car. With the husky ride, yes, we had a gun, but it was only with the guide who was on the front car, and he was only looking behind him once every couple of minutes. So
how worried were you on that husky ride?
Oh no, not at all. To be fair,
Were you scanning the horizon?
It's very
to see...
flat because
Okay.
we were
That's
riding down a river valley.
Okay.
So you'd have had time to shout to the guide like, "There's a motherfucking polar bear coming."
Well, he's only got to run. His huskies have only got to be faster than your huskies, right?
Yeah, I mean we didn't.
How fast can a bear run? Full.
I believe a bear
speed.
at full pelt over short distances can do. I think they said 30 kilometers per hour.
So faster than a husky.
No. Husky will
really?
be faster. Faster than 8 Huskies pulling a cart, probably not. They'd catch you up. We at no point did we do 30. Initially, so I was, they line up the Huskies. There were 3 of us on the cart. You took turns driving. I drove first. The other 2 guys I was with were a little bit anxious about it. So I drove first. And initially, they were like, you've got brakes. So you can, they were like, you'll need to pump the brakes every now and then just to keep them under control. But at the start, these Huskies who had been made very excited for the half hour while everything was being made ready, they came running out the gate. Chomping at the bit, running out the gate, and I had to have the brakes on full time for the first 5 minutes of the journey.
Okay.
By which time my arms were tired. And actually the dogs got overheated because although it was -6, it was a bit warm for a Husky.
Yeah.
So they were eating snow to cool down.
No way.
But only the front 4 could get to the snow.
Wow.
The others were too...
Muzzled up.
Well, no, just late...
They're just on a compacted path, presumably. So
yeah, exactly, yeah. And they
snow
couldn't
to
get
be
to the
got.
side like the front people, front dogs. Anyway, so all of this is in the documentary. There'll be lots of voiceover to explain it because you couldn't film yourself while driving 8 Huskies. So I asked
Come on, Johnny,
one
that
of the
doesn't
people...
sound that
Well,
difficult.
no, I mean, you literally weren't allowed.
All right, yeah.
They said, if you get the phone out, we'll stop you driving.
Fair enough.
Clearly, because
you are
things have gone
responsible
wrong.
for other people's lives as well, I guess.
Exactly, and because literally 6 feet to your right is a frozen lake. And if the ice wasn't thick enough like it would have been at that time of year, that doesn't end nicely for 8 Huskies or 3 humans. So it is quite a lot of responsibility. So somebody filmed me doing it. They didn't do the best job. I'm not going to lie.
Probably scared.
But thanks anyway. Anyway, yes, so I think we were talking about Verdant.
Verdant,
before
yeah.
we went down that. Oats, seriously, take their oats seriously. So there might be a director's cut of that tour. When we haven't got a video to upload, it's a great video. It's very interesting for any biggie.
Nice.
It's a bit like we did with Vinny on that homebrew with Russian River.
Yeah.
Just more in depth, pretty nerdy. Lots of oat chat. But this week's video was with Hackney, and we will get to that. But next week is a very exciting upload.
Yeah.
Which is a follow-up to our Now IPA documentary, The Time Is Now, in which we went back to the hop farm where we filmed it and basically caught up with the hop farmer, Sarah Hawkins, and chatted to the head brewer meantime about V2 of Now IPA, which you can buy online. I'll put a link to it in the descriptions box. And so next week we're going to do an update on that. We're going to talk about V2 of Now IPA. We're going to talk about whether the situation for hop farmers has improved. The answer is kind of yes, but with a big old asterisk, I would say.
Don't want to give too much away, Johnny, but what I must say is that the 3 interviews that are in the documentary are all fascinating, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's a great piece we're very happy with, and kind of came together very last minute, so we haven't been able to talk about it. But it's a half-hour mini documentary coming out next week. We've also got the Brewers Association video that's going to sort of come in and out in between the last of the collab brew videos. So it's not just collab brews all the way till Christmas. We will, of course, have our Christmas video as well. Don't worry about that. But as I said last week, things are going to get a little bit interrupted between now and about February as I finish my book. So there might be some missed uploads or missed podcasts, but we have a lot of content. We're up to our eyeballs in content.
Yes.
It's just whether we can edit them in time.
Yeah.
Should we talk about this week's video?
We should.
So this week's video was with Hackney, the hosts of Love and Beer Festival. Firstly, a shout out to them, because I underestimated how much work this festival was going to be. I don't think they did. I think they knew the whole time. But they went above and beyond to make sure it was a success. And indeed went above and beyond to make sure that this beer was a success. And I think it was a bit of a sleeper hit of the festival.
I mean, it was fantastically drinkable, wasn't it? It was, I think people get a bit scared about sours, but this was like a very kind of easygoing guy.
Yeah, I mean, loaded with fruit, but like all of the sour beers that Hackney make, it's still very much based on classic beer ingredients and flavours. And I don't mean that as an insult to the people who make smoothie beers. And I don't want to sound like the kind of person that goes like, when's beer going to taste like beer again? I just mean that you can taste the Pilsner and wheat underneath. You can taste some of the yeast character, which is quite tropical from the Philly yeast. And obviously there's no hop character. You don't want it to be there. But there's loads and loads of fruit character layered on top of that without removing everything else, and I think it makes a really balanced beer, and I think people really enjoyed that. And again, on our live show, which we did 2 weeks ago, people said the same, remarkably balanced while being incredibly full, flavoured and interesting.
I was just looking at peach Melba, because in my head I thought it was Australian. Right?
Yeah.
So I've just Googled it. It was invented in 1892 or 1893 by French chef Auguste Escoffier, who is incredibly famous, at the Savoy Hotel in London to honour the Australian soprano Nellie Melba.
So it's inspired by Australia, made by France, and created in England.
Beautiful.
Truly an international dish.
Yeah.
And that I think we got loads and loads of that flavour together. Raspberry and peach are
Great
beautiful
combo.
together.
Yeah.
Kind of stone fruit, fleshy. I got into a disagreement with Melissa Cole, beer writer, on Twitter because I said the word fleshy, which she didn't think should apply to beer. My kind of thinking was that, it's like crispy. No beer is actually crispy. We can use words to try and invoke something else. And I think that fleshy was right because it felt smoothie-esque and like there was...
Yeah, like some body to it.
Yeah.
So
I stand by it.
you remember when we worked for Jamie, you had that list of words that we weren't allowed to use?
Yeah, I wrote that list with him. Yeah.
Right.
Some of them were heartbreaking.
Was it like that? What didn't have a problem with it because fleshy sounds a bit kind of sex, like bodily.
Well, she did bring out a word for a product which uses that word.
Fleshy.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
minus the Y.
Flesh.
Yeah.
Oh right. Okay.
Yeah. You with me?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't really want to talk about that on the podcast, but yeah, she said it had connotations, which I did not think about when I wrote the word. But yeah, Jamie had a list. Like one of the words was pucker because it had been overused. It had become a cliche. We didn't use it anymore. Although he did then, after we left, he brought out a book in which a recipe had pucker on. I was like, oh, old editor Johnny would have been like, I thought we weren't using that word.
And he did do that collab range of pucker pies as well, didn't he?
Wait, did he?
No.
Oh,
that'd be ultimate. Jamie.
I can't believe that hasn't happened.
Turkey Twizzler flavour pucker pies.
So it was fleshy, pulpy. I think maybe would have been a better word in retrospect. Have you seen that Verdant have re-released Pulp?
No, I haven't.
It's still my favourite.
That's very
IPA,
cool,
I
though.
think, by the
Yeah,
double
that's
IPA.
very cool.
I'm going to be getting some of that. You guys should as well. It's kind of halfway between the coasts, a bit different to what Verdant make now. But yeah, so sleeper hit for the festival, and a really, we've never, other than our homebrew, we've never really tasted purees and talked about the blending of these fruits in and how much goes in and that kind of stuff. So that was really interesting. And we literally, as has happened on a couple of these brew days, collab brew days, we've changed the recipe on the day based off of pure palate, appraisals. Like you can write your recipe, and with most beer, you don't get to sort of change things around the last minute because you don't know what it's going to taste like after it's fermented. But we increased the amount of peach on that day, and with the Beak video, which goes live in 2 weeks' time, which I've just about finished editing, we changed the hop profiles.
That's right.
And stuff on the day as well. So it does still happen. And we got it right because, as Simon C says, approved by dolphins.
Oh, that's my comment. Go on.
No greater aquatic acclamation for a beer. He then goes on to say that the tastiest session sour he's had was a pickle beer, which I just can't get on board with.
Pickle beers.
I never liked picklebacks, and I don't like pickle beers.
No, I've got a friend, Rosemary, who I've seen walking around Margate in the past, drinking a jar of pickle water in the morning. I think there's a cure-all kind of hangover type vibes. It has got electrolytes in pickle water, apparently.
I mean, I'm sure it does, but pickle for me has to be with something.
Yeah.
Cheese, burgers. It's got to be adding
Cheese
acidity to
and
something.
mustard.
You can't just have the acidity.
Yeah.
Ugh, too much. I also like Greg Sheehan, who said that beer was the very unique colour. I could almost smell it through the video. And I agree. When I look back at that footage in slow-mo with it being poured, it was like, damn.
It's beautiful.
It's a sexy-looking beer. A lovely kind of
100%.
pink blush to it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've got one comment. I had the comment from Simon C there as well, but I've got a similar comment from @Ed. He said it's making me do dolphin noises is possibly my new favourite tasting note.
Yeah.
That's about my only tasting note I ever give.
Because I was thinking about it. I was thinking about your dolphin noises, right?
Yeah.
it's lip smacking, right? That's what
Yeah,
you're doing.
but well, it goes all. It's when it goes to the back and it goes everywhere in your mouth, all the different zones.
Every part of your mouth is enjoying that.
Did you heard this?
Is it coming from the back of your mouth or the front of your mouth?
Everywhere.
It's,
But
the
I'd say
sound is
I'd
coming
say the
from
back. Oh, the
Oh,
sound.
yeah.
I don't know where the sound's coming from. I'm not an actual dolphin.
Because lip smacking is very
Well, I do a bit of that, but also kind of that.
like literal, like a dolphin clip.
Yeah. Did you hear they've categorised a new taste
Go
in
on.
the last week? You're going to say go on, I can't quite remember it, but it's something to do with a sulphur that's in, so there's umami, salt, sweet, fuck, can't remember
Come
what
on,
the
keep
other
going.
ones are. No, I'm out, I can't remember what they all are.
Umami,
Yeah.
sweet, salty.
Yeah.
I'm trying to lead Brad.
I'm-
Sour.
Sour, of course sour.
And then the most important one in beer.
Like, I don't know.
Bitter.
Bitter, yeah, sorry. Yeah, so there's they've categorised a new flavour which is a compound that is common in Northern European food, and apparently it's found a lot in salty licorice type things, and it's got sulphur in it or some sort of sulfide.
I thought you were going to say North German Pilsners, which have a sulfate.
Well,
character
this
to
is
them.
it's a sulphury type thing that's in
So they're saying
Northern
that the
European
tongue
food.
can pick that up,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
just
yeah.
your olfactory, your
no,
nasal
it's
bits.
a different zone. It activates
Right.
because it's all different things in your mouth, and the different compounds like
Different sensors,
sensors.
pick
Yeah.
up
So there's
different.
they've discovered a new sensor that locks into this compound.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that up. Do you know?
Yeah.
I read about. Have you heard? There's been a study done into hop harvests around Europe,
Yeah.
which very much feeds into our video next week about how yields, I think on average, are down 20% on aroma varieties, which we kind of, you and I already knew from what we've witnessed and from what hop growers have said and from the struggles that are being had with SARS and Fuggle, as we talk about in the video next week. But yeah, so aroma hop varieties are really struggling.
This is to do with various factors, presumably climate change
Climate
and
climate
everything.
change.
Yeah, yeah.
Because even though lots of it is down to like resistance to diseases,
Yeah.
the diseases are more common because of climate change,
Yeah.
hotter, humid summers and springs.
More hospitable environments.
Yeah,
for,
exactly,
For bad
for pathogens,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good news on our tongues being a little bit better than we thought.
Yes.
Bad news on our noses because aroma hops are struggling.
Damn.
There's a very interesting conversation in next week's video about SARS and how they're struggling to find a replacement for SARS because of the issues we're up against. You know, it's if you're a beer-loving climate change denier, you're going to dislike next week's video, I guess, because absolute incontrovertible proof that the climate is changing. Maybe it doesn't prove that men and women are doing it, but that's just fucking obvious.
Is Svalbard affected at all? Is it still a permafrost?
Yeah, well,
zone?
so when we went on we did a driving tour of the town,
Yeah.
and Marion, who was giving the tour, she was explaining how they used to do hikes up to the ice caves in the glacier at the top of the valley that the town is in, Longyearbyen, and now you can't walk there.
Really?
And that's only in the last 7 years. It's retracted so fast that you now have to drive there.
That's horrible.
Yeah. So it's way quicker than it should be, way quicker than I expected. And Svalbard is, the mining is almost wound up in Svalbard now. It's now all about tourism and Arctic research and climate research up there.
You went to the World Seed Bank when you were there, right?
We didn't go in, you're not
you're
allowed in,
not-
but
I know you're allowed
we
in,
went
but-
and saw it, yeah.
Did you know the origins of that? Like the original scientists that started this?
The Svalbard one or because there's lots
The
of them around the world?
Well,
Whichever
no,
was
it's
first.
The Svalbard.
Right, okay.
But it comes from a Russian scientist, who had a whole lab. They went all around the world I think it was the 30s into the 40s, maybe a little bit before that as well. And when World War II started, their lab was in, I believe, Stalingrad. Don't quote me on that, I might be wrong. But they had this vast seed bank within a besieged city where there wasn't any food. And there were maybe it was like 20 or 40 scientists barricaded in the seed bank building, and pretty much all of them died of starvation when they could have eaten the seeds. So they pretty much all died to preserve the seed bank of the world at that point, which is an amazing story of like
I'm gonna have to
human
look into that.
endurance, and like, you know, like they literally were in a room with enough grain to survive for years.
Seeds edible?
Yeah, they had like rice and barley and wheat and all these things. They could have made flour, they could have made breads, and could have made whatever the fuck they wanted, but they'd rather preserve it for the world because they knew.
Or Stalin said, "You ain't eating that."
Yeah, no,
they'd have died either way.
No, they barricaded themselves in. So it was like not the government that did this; they did this, and they saved all of the grains.
Hey, it's a great story.
Yeah.
I hope it's true.
It's definitely true, Johnny. I think I listened to it on Atlas Obscura or a similar podcast that I listened to. It might have been Endless Thread, which is another one I like. It's all about different stories from around the internet. But yeah, it had its roots, and I think he was disowned by the Russian state for a long time, and now they've named like scientific institutions after him and stuff. So he's kind of come back into the fold.
We'd be glad to know there's lots of seed banks. The Svalbard one is not the only one now, probably for that exact reason.
I remember watching a Werner Herzog film about, I think it's called Encounters at the End of the World, and it's set in the McMurdo military base in, I can't remember where that is. Is it the Antarctic? Maybe. It's the American, maybe it's the Arctic. The American military base that's there, and all the different kinds of people that it attracts. You were saying you met a Uruguayan barman or something?
Yeah, lots of from all over the world really in Svalbard, because you don't need a visa to work or live there.
So this is kind of like similar to the Encounters at the End of the World, when there's scientists and there's just random people, musicians and stuff that go up there to work, and have built this like wacky community, and they have like jam nights where they're all playing instruments together, various degrees of being good. I imagine there's sort of a lot of that going on.
Yeah,
there as
100%.
well.
I mean, lots of people that I spoke to said, like, particularly for kids, now that, because there never used to be families in Svalbard.
Right.
It was 100% men up until like the late 80s. But now that there's families there, you know, you can, particularly in the winter months, learn whatever you want. You know, there's teachers there that have moved there because there's money to be had in teaching these families and these kids different things. So music, art, literature. There's a university there, or a branch of a university there. There's swimming pools, all kinds of stuff there. Even though there's only 3,000 people, they need something to do. And obviously my thing is focusing on the book and the fact that most of them also drink beer. And there's 2 breweries. 2 breweries.
Crazy.
I only thought that was one when I got there. Like, oh no, there's a second brewery. Yeah, per capita, more than 1 brewery per 1,500 people.
Well, when you consider some of that population is kids as well now.
Yeah, true. It's probably 1 in 1,000 adults.
It's wild.
One for every 1,000
stats.
adults. Yeah, exactly. So hopefully it's going to be a great chapter. And it's going to be a great video as well. I mean, just I get speechless when I try to talk about the landscape, because it's just unlike anything I've ever experienced and ever will. And if you are somebody who loves the cold, then you'll have a lot of fun in Svalbard. Also, I was a bit worried, because you were thinking about coming and then obviously timing and stuff didn't pan out. And I was a bit worried about food for you, but there was a Mexican restaurant.
A Mexican restaurant?
There was a Mexican restaurant. There was a Japanese restaurant, which I was very excited about, but then didn't go. And lots of pizza and burgers. So you'd have been fine. It is this weird kind of microcosm of West meets its own kind of culture up in the absolute middle of nowhere. Anyway, that's about all we've got time for this week. Next week is a big old video. We've got a trailer of the Hop documentary going live on Tuesday, and then the main video on Wednesday. And then the week after that, we've got our Beak Homebrew. I think generally it's been understood that the Beak one was possibly the highlight of the night, that beer. It's absolutely stunning.
Great beer, great name that as well.
Exactly, yeah, great name, Bradley. People will realise why Brad's saying that in 2 weeks' time. But yeah, that's about everything we have to say.
I didn't even get to tell you about the weird film I saw in Amsterdam, or the like crazy, mad Japanese futuristic takeaway restaurant thing that was a sort of speakeasy bar, whiskey bar upstairs. None of that, Johnny.
And
Save
you know
for
what?
next time.
Same issue. I didn't get to talk about Centre Parks, so I'm sure, knowing you, Bradley, those stories will come up at some
I'll
point.
weave them in at some point.
Yeah, you'll find a way.
Yeah.
So yeah, look forward to those stories, perhaps next week.
Yeah, man.
And otherwise, we'll see you on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday
Whoa.
for some delicious CBC content.
Wild.
Love and beer.
Wasn't it?
The Bubble and Friday 5pm podcasts are brought to you by the nerds behind YouTube's craft beer channel. You can watch over 400 mini documentaries at youtube.com/the craft beer channel. And if you love what we do, support us via Patreon and get access to merchandise and our amazing Discord forum, a positive and welcoming space for everyone who loves beer, food and homebrewing. Love and beer.